Guy Cooper is a retired policeman, but is an active candidate for the mayor of the city of Haverhill. Welcome to the program, Guy.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for having me.
This is your second outing as mayor for the city of Haverhill, and in this upcoming primary. Can you tell us, what did you learn from the previous experience, and how has that modified what you'd like to do now?
Well, the previous one, I wasn't quite sure exactly how to do it. Politics is a much different animal to run. So I ran on some advice. People helped a lot on that, but also still working full time. That kind of hindered me to what I could do. But I've learned a lot from that, and I've learned a lot of going out, meeting people, talking to people, and I've opened up a little bit more to it, and I'm a little bit more knowledgeable of what we have to do.
Your platform is very interesting, and we tell everybody that if they take a look at the screen, they'll be able to get to your website so that they can find more information about you, more so than what happens during the course of this short interview, so that if they want to participate in your campaign or ask you any questions directly, they can. Can you tell us something about your platform and what your vision is for the city of Haverhill?
So my vision for the city of Haverhill is to bring Haverhill back into I'd like to make it the #1 city again, to improve in our infrastructure, our school systems, work with City Hall to work with the City Hall, the employees there, maybe help them out if we can get some more people to get inside to make City Hall a little bit easier to manage for the community when they come in and they want to do business. Also to work with City Council, and I think it's very important to work with City Council and the school committee as one unit, and not as previous administrations have, as arguing and bickering. I think we would get more accomplished if we all could at least work together and come to the same conclusion.
When you talk about increasing property values without taxes going up by minimizing expenses district-wide, that's part of your platform. How do you mean that? Can you give us an example?
To try to enhance people coming into the city, spending some more money, visiting. We have some great restaurants downtown, visiting those, and just trying to increase in general, having maybe more family-oriented events and places. I mean, we have some great community organizations, Brightside, Team Haverhill, just to mention a couple, that can help also hopefully getting the river cleaned up, maybe talking and getting Clean River Project back in here, and cleaning that up. That could be a huge asset for the city. Haverhill has a lot of history, and I think if the more people we can bring in to visit, would greatly improve increases and also improve the city to become better.
One of your platform positions happens to be applying for federal grant money to benefit students and staff to keep them, or to keep us innovative. How do you mean by innovative?
Well, to keep up on the, we'll say times, to have our students keep up on the times. I'd like to see, as I've mentioned before, to bring home economics back in, which I had in high school, and I thought that was a great thing. Some children out there, I think, could really benefit from learning how to cook and care and clean, and not leave it up to their parents. To have
that seems only logical, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I learned a lot from that myself when I was in high school, and being in the service, I mean, I had to learn to fend for myself also, and make sure everything was cleaned up and proper. But to maybe even have a grant writer, I would be more than happy to write grants for everything and anything that the city could use and benefit from, and use it in the proper way to make sure that our students are brought up to the level that, and I'm not saying that they're not level, but to help the educators and have the proper equipment in the schools, also so the students have the ability to have newer computers if need be, typing skills, things of that nature, to try to advance our children a little bit more.
Would you figure that one of your platform positions makes reference to being able to help eradicate homelessness in the city of Haverhill? It's been well over 20 years that the homeless shelter, which we helped them locate that shelter back then, that was one building. Now that organization has 13 buildings with various degrees of things that they do for people. But how would you help eradicate the homeless problem?
So I do working as a police officer. I've seen a lot of the homeless. I've seen a lot that isn't even out there. That's the below the radar. I'd have to say you'd have to go find where the homeless are, and I've seen a lot of it. Also, my last assignment I had with the police department was with the behavioral response unit, working directly with a clinician, and we would go out and look for these people to see if we can offer some help. I really think Haverhill can do a better job at trying to help with the homeless, more programs possibly, and even more shelters. But I really think that more education and the more programs, the more help we can send to them. Hopefully they can get into these programs and see that they can actually advance and come out of the homelessness.
Without getting into it too deeply, I'll ask you this question. Back in the 1980s, there were many people that were under supervision in hospitals, and they were let out of the hospitals under the guideline of that, well, if they take their medication, they'll be okay. But probably 1/3 of the homeless population they attribute to that group of people that unfortunately don't take their medication on time. Have you found that to be the case?
Oh, absolutely. We've a lot of times where the patients or the people themselves just stop taking their medications because they think they're okay. I'm not a health professional, so I can't get too deep into it.
They have nobody there to supervise them to tell them they're not.
Some of them do. Some of them do have their medication and or a lockbox for it, so they'll come over and give them. And some that don't, they don't keep up with it, and they could run into some issues and a crisis. And from that point, I think we can streamline a little bit better to try to have them be more consistent with their medications.
Can you tell us something relative to your economic recovery programs? And you're talking about creating community events. Can you give us an example of what type of events you're talking about?
Well, I've been approached by several families that have children in the area, and they've all commented that we've lost the roller skating rink that's been there for years and years. We had 3 bowling alleys at one time. We have 1 now. And they say that they have to go out of the city looking for events. Now we have, again, Team Haverhill, which put on fantastic events. We have the River Ruckus coming up, which I think is it's a great event and to get the community together. But I'd like to see more in the families, as they said, more. They weren't very specific, but more children-driven events in the city that would bring people out and bring people together as one to certain fun events. We don't have a movie theater. People have thought of we don't have a movie theater in Haverhill. Not sure how well it would go over, how many people still go to the movies because we can get everything online now. But doing movies is fun. Some children and families like to go out and do stuff like that.
One of the things we discussed previously had to do with having a cultural center or a venue that would be somewhat similar to what they have in Atkinson at their school, where they have philharmonic orchestras on a regular basis and several during the course of the season, or like the Collins Center in Andover. And Haverhill does not happen to have that type of venue. And for a population of about 70,000 people, you would think that we would, because that not only enhances everything culturally, but can develop business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was another thing is putting a venue where we could have a big stage, maybe put on plays, even an indoor one. Mm-hmm. People have thought of that, and I think they're fantastic ideas.
Can you tell me about the, you're talking about also some citywide capital improvements. What would those be? And if you do implement something of that type, doesn't that bring with it higher taxes as well?
It may. I'm not saying that taxes will go any higher. Haverhill is one of the lower taxes in the city, but also we're paying in other ways for our trash pickup to have extra trash barrels. We're paying for now the infrastructure building that's been lacked on for 20 years.
We'll just switch slightly if we say that one of the last things, because we're coming up on less than 30 seconds, and just you're talking about eliminating some waste and duplication of effort. Can you give examples of where something of that type might be saved in the city?
What I mean is duplicating is there are some things I think that we keep going over and over on, and we're bandaging and putting a Band-Aid on it instead of a full repair and a one-time payment. Instead of keep going back and spending thousands and thousands of dollars on it, we can do it right the first time and have it done and over with. And it may cost a little in the beginning, but in the long run, it will pay off.
Makes sense. That'll have to be the last word. Guy Cooper, running for mayor of the city of Haverhill. We hope people pay attention to your website and give you a call, ask you any questions, or even perhaps be part of your campaign. We wish you the best of luck in the September primary, Guy.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.